Hey there, Evan Edinger here. It's time for another video where I go over some Ask Reddit threads. Today's Ask Reddit thread in question, we've got, what is a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Ho ho! Company secrets. Let's dive on in. And as you know, if you like this type of content, be sure to hit that big old subscribe button so we can hit 1 million subscribers one day. So, first secret we've got is, I used to work for a company, rhymes with Muzzbead, and we used to have somebody post this question every few months for material for one of our clickbait articles. Chuz lead? Hey, I'm almost as guilty as the Muzzbead worker for giving you all these juicy bits, but someone said, you made me search through OP's history and she's full of Ask Reddit questions made to write clickbait articles. Oh no! It's not the worst thing in the world. Ooh, I used to work at a graphic design firm. All our Adobe software was pirated. Oh, I remember actually working at a startup in London in which the startup that was downstairs, I was just chatting with them at one point and I noticed they had cracked Adobe software and I was like, oh my God. Now, listen, there's nothing necessarily wrong or inherently bad about pirating or cracking software. In fact, it's your God-given right. However, if you are someone that makes money from the work that you do using the pirated software, that's where I'm like, okay, you're getting into some shaky grounds here because especially if you're a company, Adobe makes insane money off of suing for that. Like every single thing that you ever designed using their software legally, oh boy. That being said, maybe this topic gets its own video at some point where I talk about my thoughts on piracy in general, because I feel like it's a bit misunderstood. I feel like a lot of people that are against it because they don't know how to do it. And so they're like, hey, you shouldn't do that because I never took the time to learn how to do it and it's wrong. There's others that are like, hey man, if you can't actually own something and Sony has the rights to just take back some digital purchase that you made and say, oh, sorry, licensing agreements. Well, if you can't own it, then you can't steal it, in my opinion. So, hey, like I said, I might make my own video on that. Tell me if you're interested. Otherwise, let's go. Next one, company secrets. I used to work in surveillance at a casino. From something like 3 stories high ceilings, we could zoom in on money on the table games and read the serial numbers on the bills. We could see the pips on the dice. Policy was not to look down blouses. At least the policy exists, but why does it exist? I wonder what's happened. Yikes. Maple sap can be trucked from other states, and where it's turned from sap to syrup decides on the state it comes from, not the location of the trees. I feel like both of those things should be indicative there. Like when you buy coffee beans, it tells you the origin of where the coffee beans are from, especially if you get good beans. It tells you the exact area of the country, the exact farm you get it from, sometimes the name of the farmer, and then where they're roasted is also a separate thing. So that way you know the roastery. I think it's important to have both of those. Listen, I know there's probably some Canadians already in my audience going, excuse me, yeah, we need more information here. Because if I bought some maple syrup and they said it came from Canada, I'd really hope that it was from Canadian trees. I don't know. I want to taste the Canadian maple syrup sap. I don't want American trees that are shipped to be processed in Canada. That feels like cheating. It'll make me feel like quite a sap. Inbound call center. We are currently experiencing an unusually high volume message is permanent. They just don't staff adequately. Obviously, everyone knows this. They were so excited when COVID happened because that way they could actually hypothetically have some sort of excuse that people would believe. Like, guys, remember that pandemic we had 3 years ago? Yeah, so we're still experiencing some issues from it. No, you're just trying to save some f***ing money, you little leeches. Also, I suspect the menu options have not recently changed. No. I hate when some customer service numbers don't allow you to just spam 0 or say operator as they try and waste as much time of yours as possible by having you talk to the robot person who's like, sorry, I didn't recognize that. And you're like, operator. I didn't recognize that. And sometimes they literally go, well, we can't understand you, bye. Oh my God. So frustrating. You have to actually waste so much of your time just to get to a human, and it's the worst. Hence why one of the biggest reasons I will never, ever, ever bank with HSBC. The worst bank ever. It'll be on my grave. Evan Edinger, he died how he lived, hating HSBC. Olive Garden breadsticks are just France brand breadsticks. Garlic salt and butter. Well, okay. Were you gonna tell me that the free breadsticks that come with your really awful Italian-American chain restaurant food aren't homemade Italian breadsticks? Were you really thinking that? Come on. I did not know. I've never heard of that brand, and I also am a bit suspicious. Maybe this is a hail corporate. I worked as a dog groomer for a summer. We gave your dog a treat, even if they weren't good. Thank God. If you don't hear music, this one's important. If you do not hear music when you're on hold, the operator simply muted their mic and can still hear you. I've heard interesting and damning things while they thought I couldn't hear them. Oh, I know this. I actually purposely will just talk to myself and have funny conversations if they do that to me. Just having a fun time. A lot of these seem to be revolving around customer service phone lines. You should always try and be nice rather than mean. In general, but also on the phone. The only time this has not worked out for me was very recently when I was trying to get money back from Emirates and they were being so mean to me and I was trying to be polite, being like, but come on, don't you see this is kind of like messed up? I deserve this refund. And he was like, doesn't matter. So luckily in this case, my solicitor girlfriend decided to jump on the line and she wasn't mean, but she was very assertive about the law. I'm someone that can't really do that. I try and be very like jovial about things on customer service, but having someone like that to just speak the law, worked in insurance. Hundreds of people have access to your social security number with no security clearance or background check. Welcome to the US's really broken system of giving every single citizen a number that they're supposed to keep private, but isn't actually that private and is a stupid idea. It wasn't even meant to be used in this case for that purpose of having an identity number, but that's the way it is. Here's a fun fact. The middle school that I went to in South Jersey gave us an agenda at the beginning of every school year to write down, what our homework was and such, had like the calendars. And we also had on it a little barcode with our student ID number. This student ID number was how we would log into the computers to submit an AR program test, which is the accelerated reader program. I've made a video about that. How did they come up with this number? It was my social security number. I'm someone that's really a big fan of numbers, so I just noticed things like this and I went, oh, that's weird. I don't think any of the other students ever noticed that, or at least they never talked about it. I remember telling people and they were like, oh, that's fun. I don't think that's fun. That was probably a really bad idea that some system administrator just thought, hey, it saves us time. We've got their information. No. I wonder if they still do that. If you're from South Jersey and you have a child that is in a middle school, tell me. Oh, don't actually tell me the number, okay? I'm not trying to scam you. All right, I'm in the mood for more company secrets. We've got worked at a major cable/ISP and there are 4 billing cycles. They upgraded the billing system, but did something wrong. All but the current cycle got a late charge. But instead of fixing it immediately, we were told to credit their account if the customer called in. I did the math, and for the size of our city and the 3/4 of people wrongly charged, it was over $1 million USD. Most people just pay their bill and they don't look too close. Time Warner was the one that did that. Makes sense, but I also imagine that Comcast would do the same dirty tricks. I'm also pretty sure that Wells Fargo, the bank in the States, also got caught for this same thing and got such a big fine for it because it's f***ing evil, where essentially if you didn't have much money in your bank account and you input, let's just say $100, and then later in the day pulled out 20, Wells Fargo would arrange it so that you pulled out 20 first in the day, so that way you went negative, went default, and then they can charge you the defaulting fee of like $30 or something. And they were like, ha ha ha, that's not evil at all. Yes, people that don't have money, they're the ones that we should be charging massive fees to because you rigged your system. God. I feel like instead of just charging fines for these types of banks and institutions, that should very much just be you're no longer allowed to operate, like rotten from the core, gone. But too big to fail. Why don't we just bail all the banks out, right guys? Oh. If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. Oh, I watched people work through grotesque, racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting it and typing, okay. So basically, your live chat with customer care is Google Wave. You guys remember that? Remember Google Wave? That was like the future. It was like, hey, don't you want to like see what people are typing live? No. It was really cool as a concept until you realize, oh, there's no going back ever from any message even thought about. One of Google's actually good decisions to get rid of one of their products. For once. Enter the Google graveyard, Google Wave. Arby's manager replaced the expiration stickers on the bread with new ones. Ugh, I guess so the bread would last longer that way? I threw out 100+ pittas with green fuzz on them after checking the manager's work. I'm surprised it's taken this long to get to any food or restaurant related secrets because as I've worked in a couple retail restaurants and things, oh boy, there's some things you probably just don't want to know. I remember specifically when one of the cooks accidentally dropped the entire bucket full of like chicken wings on the floor, and then we were told to just put them back in the bucket. They'll be fine. Extra crunch. We also used to play Frisbee with pepperoni. That was fun. Here's a restaurant secret. The freezer is not only where the food goes to freeze and stay as long as possible, but also where an employee can go to have a nice little cry. Things are getting a little stressful. It's a nice quiet place. Nobody wants to go into the freezer really, so it's nice as a quiet freezing place to just have a little cry. It's also quite nicely insulated from sound, so no one will hear you. Your luggage at the airport isn't really handled with care. Oh no, I don't think anyone really thought that. I've seen them just kind of toss them under the plane from like my seat on the plane. Like, oh, that's literally mine. I can see it on my app. And okay, there he goes. That's why, as someone who flies with a lot of camera kit, I literally never put any of that stuff in the check-in luggage ever. That is kept in my backpack, or I have that as a carry-on suitcase. Oh gosh, never, ever, ever. When I first moved to the UK, I wanted to make sure I brought some of my nice Bath & Body Works candles to like have my student accommodation smell nice. Guess what arrived with me? 3 broken candles. And a broken promise, because Air Canada lost my luggage for 3 days and then never paid me back because they're a piece of shit. Oh, this one's so shit. I worked for a large construction company and the sales guys would intentionally omit items from contracts because they received incentives for what would then become change orders. Me. You forgot to include any framing in this contract. Sales weasel. Oh, I guess it's a change order then. Customer cries. I feel like there's a word for this in the UK. Like that is actually illegal, right? Like that's not actually creating value. That's actually scamming customers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Companies rule the US, so I guess that's fair. The difference between the high quality deli meat sold at M&S, finally got some British representation here, Marks and Spencer's, and the regular deli meat sold in other grocery stores is that we changed the label. We would literally stop the production line, wait for the guy to run the label machine to swap them out before starting it back up again. Is this really about M&S though? Because what British person is going to use the expression deli meat or grocery store? Is there an M&S in the US? It's like an American store? I'm actually a bit sus. Also, yeah, I know a lot of parents say things like, oh, the generic product is the same thing, they just switch the labels. But that is just really not true for most products. If you're gonna go for pharmaceutical goods like Tylenol, paracetamol, ibuprofen, that type of thing. Well, yeah, there really is no difference between the name brand and the off-store brand. That's fine. But when it comes to like ketchup and mayo, we all know there's a huge difference there. It's not just the same one. My parents would be like, don't worry, children. This Aldi brand cereal tastes just the same because it's the same thing as Cap'n Crunch. No, it's not. However, Malto-Meal's Berry Colossal Crunch is just as good, if not a little bit better than Cap'n Crunch, okay? That is actually the only time I've ever found the generic brand was better. Kind of mind-blowing, honestly. Oh, interesting. Someone says, what's M&S? And someone replied, UK chain, Marks and Spencer. All right, I'm just so surprised. Maybe it's an American in the UK like me who says grocery store. I don't hear many Brits use that expression. I miss it. I like the word groceries. Over here, they're all saying food shop. You say something like grocery store and they're like, ew, gross, surreal, bad word. They're out of business now, but in the early 90s, I worked at Radio Shack for a year and a half. When people would return an item because it didn't work, the manager of the store would just box it up and sell it again as if it were new. When I asked him about it, he said, hopefully they return it to a different store. Oh God, I mean, that is awful. I will give you that. I nearly got fired for refusing to sell a guy a walkie-talkie that I knew didn't work. The guy was on his way out for a hunting trip and was buying 3 of these for him and his friends. He had 2 and the third one was the broken one. In front of the customer, I told the manager that one of them didn't work and I'd tested it. The guy was happy. I told him. We arranged him to get the last one at a different store. The manager was livid with me and nearly fired me. Sorry, I'm not sending people out into the forest with gear I know doesn't work. Yeah, that feels like an actual crime though. Like that's horrible. But also, Radio Shack is completely shit and they went bankrupt ages ago. Come on. Hotels do not typically have security, maintenance, or housekeeping on staff 24/7. Once housekeeping finishes cleaning all the rooms, the entire staff leaves except for one front desk employee. Wow, I guess that makes sense. I don't know what I expected really, but also I don't really stay in hotels unless it's paid for by some sort of tourism board because I'm not made of money and geez, hotels are so expensive. Airbnbs are so expensive. Everything's so expensive these days. The secret ingredient of Jimmy John's tuna salad is soy sauce. There you go, Americans. Hope you learned something today. Worked at Best Buy 20 years ago. Employee discount was 5% over cost, and I needed a new printer. Decided to splurge on the gold-plated USB printer cable that we sold for $40. Rang up $1.78. Oh, all those gold-plated cables from back in the day were just a big scam. You used to get like audio cables for your like electric guitar, and it was like gold-plated. No. Those don't actually do anything. There are cases in which that's useful, but not here. Wow, that is an incredible profit margin. Oh boy. We sometimes make up letters to the editor. God forbid. cannot believe this. The lies, the lies. Now, one company secret that I'm surprised didn't come up in this thread is the secret that YouTube very recently has it so that when I say like this video, it should light up the little button at the bottom if you're on a web browser or mobile browser. Same if I say subscribe, it should have a little light around that. Isn't that cool? But not as cool as today's video sponsor, Squarespace. Thanks, Squarespace, for sponsoring today's video. If you're unaware, Squarespace is your #1 all-in-one website builder. Do you want to make a portfolio to showcase some of your works of art? You can do that with Squarespace. Do you want to open up a shop, maybe sell some photographic prints, maybe some Lightroom presets, maybe some colorful LUTs so that if people shoot with a similar camera to you, they can just slap on your LUT and make their video content good? Wow. You could just do that really easily on Squarespace. But Evan, I would like a nice template that doesn't look like yours. Well, good for you, because guess what? Squarespace has so many different templates to choose from, and you can change any little details you want to really make it a website of your own. And with 24/7 customer support that I've actually used, and it's helped me quite significantly, Squarespace is an easy recommendation from me. And if you'd like to make a website for yourself, just like I have, sign up today at squarespace.com/Evan Edinger or use code Evan Edinger at checkout to get 10% off and 1 month free. So thanks, Squarespace, for sponsoring. Otherwise, let's wrap this up. Thank you very much for watching another one of my Ask Reddit videos. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, you can watch this other playlist of other Reddit videos I have made. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Goodbye. Holy f***. I just did the whole ad read outro in one take? Who am I? Bye, 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 bye.